The stunning comments testimony from Hockey Canada executives. Hi, I'm Brian Lilley, political columnist with the Toronto Sun, joined today by sports columnist Scott Stinson. And Scott, this is one of those bizarre occasions where your world and my world collide. The entire country is shocked by the allegations of a group of as many as 8 men participating in an assault on a woman while she was intoxicated, members of our national world junior team. Hockey Canada called back to the Commons Heritage Committee again, and they had no friends there. They had zero friends there. But what was your takeaway? What struck you the most coming out of the testimony?
Yeah, I would say the two sort of themes I saw, Brian, were that, as you alluded to, all the members of Parliament essentially wanting leadership changes at Hockey Canada, calling for CEO Scott Smith to resign without actually saying, "I think you should resign." They sort of were a little more subtle than that, but they did say, "We think there needs to be leadership changes at the top," and he was fairly resolute in saying that he thinks he's the man to lead the change at the organization, which
It,
he and others have acknowledged need to happen.
at one point, he said, "Well, I wasn't part of the cover-up," but he's been at the top of this organization for a very long time. He's not Johnny come lately. And he used the word or the phrase cover-up, which surprised me. When you look at everything that took place, and you wrote about this in your
Hmm.
column the other day, you know, the lawyer from Heenan Hutchinson that did the independent quote unquote report
Yeah,
um, didn't actually complete it because why? Couldn't speak to the woman at the center, the victim. She wouldn't talk, so we don't need to talk anymore. Um, Hockey Canada does nothing about this for 4 years. There is a lawsuit filed in April, and they settled in a matter of weeks.
yeah,
Liberal MP Anthony Housefather, he's a lawyer. He was asking some smart questions in there, like, "Is this how you normally settle?"
yeah.
Because nothing looks normal in this. To me, it's just everything smacks of cover up from Hockey Canada to federal bureaucrats as well.
Yeah, and I think that's the part that, maybe as we'll see where this story goes, there'll be a little more explanation. But I will say, his father, as you say, asked some good questions today. I was a little surprised that the MPs didn't press a bit harder on that point of why did they just drop it in 2018? Why did they just kind of let it go? And did they have any explanation for the 4 years that passed and then only quickly resolving it now? So, maybe it was a case of them trying not to preclude the investigations that are now going. There's a police investigation, there's their own internal investigation that is resumed. So maybe they didn't want to get into too many particular details of what happened 4 years ago, but I was surprised not to see that story really advance much today.
Were you shocked as I was yesterday? You made mention of it in your column, and I quoted the guy today. This Michel Roost. He's the guy in charge of programs for Sport Canada. He is the one that says, "Cut them another check for 1.8 million. Cut them another check for 1.5." And he found out about these allegations a week after Hockey Canada, a week after then Sport Minister Kirsty Duncan put out a new mandate for dealing with harassment claims like this, including that anything serious be reported to the minister. And they asked, "Well, did you tell the minister?" "No, we only give them statistics." I was gobsmacked by that. On the one hand, I think somebody had to know something further up the food chain, but this guy seemed pretty
Mhm.
resolute. "We didn't tell anyone about it, and it's no big deal."
Yeah, it speaks to the culture change that everyone seems to say they acknowledge has to happen now, is the fact that really an awful lot of people seem to have heard that something involving sexual assault took place 4 years ago, whether it was Hockey Canada, whether it was Sport Canada, who knows how many different bureaucrats and mandarins come across this information. And there seemed to have been no follow up at all. So, there's a lot of apologies being made today, but I think there's lots of politicians and bureaucrats who have stuff to answer for their inaction back in 2018.
Now, I'm going to include guys like Scott Smith and the executives at Hockey Canada in that politician category
Mhm.
because they definitely sounded like ones today. So, where does it go from here? Who do you believe? What do you think the next steps are? We keep talking about cultural changes and acknowledging that things have to change. Nothing does seem to change. This is the same sort of cover-up crap that we've been hearing about, whether it's schools, churches, sports leagues, forever. And
Yeah.
something bad happens, hush it up. What happens next with Hockey Canada?
I think there's a good chance we'll see some pretty significant change there, whether it's new executives brought in. I mean, to go by today's evidence, Smith has no intention of resigning. I'm not even sure how somebody could force him. I guess Hockey Canada or sorry, Sport Canada through the ministry could say, we're going to not restore your funding until there's new people at the top. He alluded to some internal review that's going on, and if that review determines that he's not the person to lead it forward, then he'll accept their advice. So I suppose there's a couple of avenues where he might yet change. And then, of course, Brian, the one thing that we still don't know that has to be revealed, presumably at some point, are who was involved. As far as we know, there were players who had signed professional contracts 4 years
Mhm.
ago. There's a decent chance that at least some of them are National Hockey League players today. We know the National Hockey League's doing an investigation. So I think we'll probably the sort of the big other shoe to drop, so to speak, is finding out what happens to these players beyond the settlement that was given essentially in their name to the young woman, back in May.
Yeah, it's hockey keeps saying they want to clean things up. They've got to show it this time. It can't be like situation with the Blackhawks covered up for years. We can't keep
Yeah.
going back to that and then saying, well, we won't let that happen again. Scott, thanks very much for your time. We'll let the audience have their say. Drop a comment down below, share this on social media, let us know what happens next. Where should this go? And don't forget, subscribe to our channel.